All right. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Hello, viewers. Welcome to Punch for Punch on TVBAKWETU. I am so glad that we have made this happen. I want to just say thank you to TVBAKWETU family. I want to say thank you to Dr. Elias Monsha for facilitating this. I want also to thank my guest, Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba, and I want to say thank you for him for accepting to come and be part of this dialogue, discussion, and also political discourse, which is important in any democracy. As you know, Zambia is a thriving democracy. We want to continue to be a thriving democracy. That means that when we have ideas that are different, we don't shy away from facing each other head on and addressing issues and ideas that promote the well-being of our people. And therefore, I want to welcome my elder brother, the all-seasoned political pundit, whatever you can call him, Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba. Thank you, my brother, for accepting to join today.
Thank you, Aka. I'm grateful. I'm glad to be here. And this is my third time to be on TVBAKWETU.
Yes. I'm glad you are one of those people that that will show up, and I think that we should give credit to you. There's several of those that will gladly come, but you, anytime we call upon you, you are here. And I'm glad that you managed to actually accept this. To cut the long story short, let's go into it. Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba, I am of a standpoint that is quite different from yours when it comes to socio-economic development in Zambia. And I think on several occasions, I have challenged some of those ideas that you are espousing and some of those ideas and commentaries that you have been making. And I said, look, there's no better place than to come together and debate these issues head on. And this is what Punch for Punch is about. Ambassador Mwamba, let me start from a very fair playground so that we can get the stories right about socio-economic development in Zambia vis-a-vis the mining sector. One of the things that I want to put out there very clearly, and probably ask you a question. You remember that the PF government was in power, the PF party was in power for 10 years. And in that 10 years, there was a remarkable event that happened. The PF government, which you belong to, agreed to actually sell, buy Mopani copper mines for $1. Okay, that sounds pretty good, right? But then they also agreed that they were going to be in debt to Glencore for $1.5 billion. The new Dawn didn't do that. Your party, your government did that. 1.5. In other words, we actually bought Mopani copper mines as a country back from Glencore for $1.5 billion. And that, sir, is on you and your party. What do you say?
So it's a very bad deal. There is no justification for it. We need to trace the history of this country. We were a private sector-led economy until 1968, when we conducted those economic reforms titled Mulungushi reforms, and those then took us to the center and almost to the left, where we nationalized all state major assets, including the mines. Even then, there's even a scandal around how we bought the mines in 1968, between 1968 and 1972. We bought them at a lot of money from Lonro and Anglo, although they remained minority shareholders. That process lasted up to 1991, when in 1991 we decided to liberalize the economy, again move far to the right, and we sold our mines. We sold most of our state-owned enterprises that we had developed or that we had acquired. The economy was 80% run by state-owned enterprises, and we reverted back to almost at 20%. And in some major entities like the mines, we kept some golden shares, about 20%.
Under Zambia Consolidated Copper Mine Investment.
Under Zambia Consolidated Copper Mines. And then we had to form Zambia Consolidated Copper Mines RH Investment Holding to hold those golden shares. And my criticism, Aka, now comes from us as a people. It appears we've learned nothing from the last 60 years, and even before that, from colonial times. We don't seem to have learned anything. We keep on repeating the old mistakes, and we keep on assuming that we are reinventing the wheel. We are doing something important. The Glencore deal is a very bad deal. Number one.
So just before you go, Ambassador Mwamba, not to cut you short, I'm glad that you have agreed that Glencore mining deal was a bad deal. Now, that was done by the PF. Wouldn't it be good, even for your own political interests, as you aspire to lead PF, to actually render an apology to the people of Zambia, especially the people on the Copper Belt?
Yes, I suffer this perception. It appears like I was head of state, or I was president, or I was a member of cabinet, and therefore I should assume the responsibilities and liabilities of the Patriotic Front. Of course,
you are part of the party.
Collectively, I do agree, because I was part of government, although my proximity was a bit distant. For the last 7 years, for example, I've been an ambassador in South Africa and in Ethiopia. So I was outside this country, and as an ambassador, your role is extremely peripheral. You should know that the president has advisors, including economic and other advisors. Then he has cabinet ministers and permanent secretary that helps him run day-to-day government. And for an ambassador to say, no, Mr. President, what you and your advisors are doing is wrong, probably you'll be out of place. They'll tell you to do your job. But there are many times, Aka, that I reached out to my colleagues at State House. If I held a strong view about a matter, I reached out for information, for explanation, for advice, and in some cases, just for outright opposition to some of the decisions, because that's what you do internally. You cannot stand outside and embarrass your government. So the Mopani deal is bad for various reasons. Number one, we sold the entire ZCCM, from Kansanshi up to Luansha, from Muflira up to Nchanga. The collective was about $600 million. And to have components of that sold for $1.5 billion, it's like it's like we don't even know our own history. I don't even know how our negotiators agreed to that. Number two, we surrendered our mining rights during the duration that we will be paying Glencore. So whether it will take us 10 years or 20 years, Glencore will buy our copper at their own determined rate, not the world market rate, not the market rate, but their own. We are yet to understand.
Yeah, right. Let's make it very clear. That deal was done by your former boss, President Edgar Lungu.
It was done by ZCCMI, IH. It was done by transaction advisors under the Ministry of Mines and Minerals Development. Of course, he was head of state, so the buck stops to him. I'm yet to understand.
That's exactly right. And let me thank you for saying that, because a lot of people have a notion that at the end of the day, the buck stops with the president. People think, oh no, it's Zambia Concentrated Copper Mines, Investments Holdings, and others, that the Minister of Mines and so on and so forth. At the end of the day, we hold the presidents accountable. Just like we are going to hold the president, the current president, His Excellency President Hakainde Hichilema, accountable for the decisions that he's making. We should be able to say, Ambassador Mwamba, yes, President Lungu made a mistake, and I'm glad that you're pointing that out, because a lot of people have no confidence or even courage to say, no, the previous regime made a huge mistake by selling, basically, by buying, Mopani copper mines at 1.5 billion, and then including a condition that, like you are saying, that they will buy copper from Mopani mine at their own predetermined price. That's a wrong deal. Now, just so that we can keep that conversation, because I think what's happening to Mopani is a special case of us owning a mine on a pretext of a bad deal. So then what do we do? What do we do? Because go ahead.
So I've called for the cancellation of this deal, Aka, for three major reasons. Number one, Glencore has been cited by various extractive industry reports and those oversight reports, especially those done by Oxfam and others, that have demonstrated that whilst running Mopani, Glencore and the Swiss companies were cheating on taxes. They were not paying on taxes. And Zambia Revenue Authority did a strong audit between 2006 and 2009 and pursued their point in a court of law. And Mopani and Glencore kept Zambia Revenue Authority in court for 10 years. At the end of it, Zambia Revenue Authority were proved right that Glencore was cheating on taxes. It was not making full disclosures, and they were fined. I'm embarrassed by the figure. They should have been given a punitive figure, but they were given a figure of $13 million. These are the findings of the Supreme Court, which established that Glencore was engaged in many things. Number one, the so-called arm's length principle, where they would use their Swiss company to buy copper from Mopani at very low rate, and then their subsidiary sells it at higher rate. So other than not making proper taxes and paying proper taxes, they were also cheating on volumes of production and volumes that they need to pay to this country. So that's not an entity you should have or honor an agreement with. Number two, Glencore, Vedanta, and Associated Foods, British Foods that run Zambia Sugar, were cited on that famous UK report, War on Want, that have cited them that between just the three organizations, they've been depriving our country in taxes and incentives amounting to $3 billion a year. Number four, you are aware what has happened to Glencore. Both UK and US authorities have cited them for literally criminal activities where they manipulated markets, they didn't pay taxes, they engaged themselves in bribes to over 7 countries. I don't know why Zambia hasn't been cited, but probably Zambia also could be cited if the investigations were there. And I've said this deal must be cancelled, Dhaka, because when both British and American authorities were closing in on Glencore, they started to sell their assets. So they sold their assets in South Africa. They sold their Namibian assets and Burkina Faso assets. They sold the Australian assets. They sold the Zambian assets. They did not disclose to us.
Let me ask you a question. It's very important. I agree what you're saying. That's the very important point you're making. It's one thing to say, let's cancel the deal. It's another to actually legally cancel that deal promptly. Now, let me make that very clear. It's one thing for us to come on here and also go on Facebook and say, let's cancel that deal. That's a bad deal. I have two questions for you. The first question is, did you, and I want to say, I'm not saying you should have, when you're in government, you should have done this, but I'm asking you, did you at any time during that deal tell anyone, including your colleagues at the Ministry of Mines? You were an insider at that point. You worked inside. You were a senior. You know Ambassador Mwamba. You are not one of those ambassadors that were sent out there based over. You have been a political activist for a very long time. You were a senior ambassador.
Yeah.
You're High Commissioner in South Africa. You went to Ethiopia, and these are not small destinations for diplomacy for the Republic of Zambia. And so you were a senior government officer. Not only that, but you were an insider in the party structure system. And on many occasions, you actually commented on issues that pertaining to governance in Zambia. The question I have today is that, did you suggest what you're suggesting today? Then that
for the cancellation, no. For the cancellation, no, because some facts emerged after the deal. The deal was in 2019, and the Supreme Court ruling against Glencore and Mopani was in May 2020. The findings by UK and US authorities have only emerged now. At a time, I questioned, because I know the figures. I said, look, we sold the entire ZCCM for $600 million. Why are we selling some units of former ZCCM for $1.5 billion? For me, that didn't make sense. And I requested to have documents relating to the sale. I never found them. I think no one was willing to avail them to me, because it's a matter I was interested in. I'm still interested, and I'm still looking to understand how much Glencore is buying our copper from Mopani. I'm still looking for those documents.
And thank you for that. Thank you for that. Here is where I stand with this issue, and then you can rebuttal after that. In Zambia, right now, if you ask any Zambian today, they're going to tell you one of the most thing that they're interested in is not blame games. Okay, number one. That's why you have listened to the president and the New Dawn government from way back. They have not been pointing fingers. What they have done, and something that I like they're doing, is to sit down and solve the problems that were created by your party and your government. This is one of those problems that the New Dawn government has actually decided to take on and solve. Now, there's two angles to this. We realize, and I'm sure the New Dawn government has not said this was a good deal. They haven't even given a position yet on Glencore, whether the Glencore needs to come back or not on the Mopani copper mines. As we stand today, we, the Zambian people, regardless of how much we owe Glencore, we own Mopani copper mines as a people. That is the right premise, right? The point number two is that right now, the global commodity prices of copper are so high to an extent that if we can reorganize Mopani copper mines, we could easily within 1 year to 2 years be able to dismantle the $1.5 billion that is owed to Glencore. That's point number two. Now, whether we need to do that or not, that's another debate for another day. But as it stands, we owe Glencore, thanks to PF, we owe Glencore $1.5 billion. And the New Dawn government has decided we are going to tackle this problem. And I am recommending, as you and me know, I'm not part of the government system, but I'm recommending that we go back to the table. Either we renegotiate the terms of that agreement and take away the buying and purchasing of copper at a Glencore's predetermined prices, and let the market prices take its course on the copper that we are producing at Mopani copper mines. And then third, if that doesn't work out, we need to go back to court and try to muscle ourselves out of that. But in the meantime, the people on the copper belt want the mine to work for them. They need employment. They need food on their table. They need those jobs at Mopani copper mine and other mines like KCM that needs to be worked on, you know, to provide jobs. And the only way we can do that is either we need to get Mr. Sakanya, who is the CEO of Mopani, to get his act together, okay? So that he can grow that mine, go to the capital market, borrow against the future revenue of the mines, and dismantle the 1.5 billion. That's what he should be working on.
You've spoken something I have been advocating. I don't believe that you need foreign investment for both Mopani and KCM. I've stood very, very strongly on that. And I've stated that, for example, if you give back KCM to Vedanta, they'll just use the assets of KCM, go to the bank and get a loan to run the mines. That is something we can do on our own. This myth and belief that only foreign investment can resolve the issues of Mopani and KCM, for me, it shocks me a lot, because no investor uses their personal money. Just a minute. No investor uses their savings or personal money. They will use the assets they've acquired and borrow. Like you've stated, one of the mechanisms is to mortgage your future earnings and borrow against those earnings. Yeah, those are mechanisms. But there is this strong belief, especially by the New Dawn government, who thinks that only foreign investment will resolve the issues of KCM. The Lusaka is quite busy for us that live here. And we know who is here, whether they are from Rio Tinto, Australia, whether they are from India and Switzerland, and from Britain and South Africa. We know they are here. And for me, that is what I caution. First Quantum issued a report through Professor Oliver Sasa. By the way, that's a very bad report.
I was coming to that.
I wish we could discuss that report. It's a very bad report.
No, but I'm coming to that.
Oh, that's good. But there's some key information there. First Quantum claims that it's contributing to the Zambian economy up to almost $1.2 billion. $1.2 billion. And they term themselves as the largest taxpayer in Zambia. So they've broken it down that they're spending about $330 million in direct taxes, and $330 million in royalties, and then their contributions through social and capital expenditure on infrastructure in Solwezi, and then their corporate social responsibility. So they've done a total of about $1.2 billion. They say they contributed $800 million last year. Now, those are big figures. This is just one single mine. What if we went to Barrick Gold and Lumwana? Because remember, First Quantum runs Kansanshi and Sentinel, and Barrick Gold runs Lumwana. Then you have other mines, like Mopani itself, like KCM. Chambeshi is closed because they are smelter. I think we made some very bad law where we stopped imports of ore, and so Chambeshi can't process copper from the Congo because they would buy the ore or concentrates from across the border and then process it. But for one reason or another, I don't know, you experts, you all think like you are born from one mother. But so Chambeshi is closed because of that. Then they are supposed to be reviving Luanshya mines. So the mining sector, whatever our criticism, even if the assets are depleting, whatever negatives we have about it, is going to be a major contributor to our economy for a long time. But it's decisions that we will make now that will determine how much we can get from such mines. So if we have a bad deal with people I'm comfortable to call criminals because they've been established as criminals, Glencore, then we'll go nowhere. We have an opportunity to void that contract because of those findings. If we are in a hurry to give KCM because Vedanta is knocking on the door and they've been very bad owners the last 20 years. Again, we will have no benefit for our country. We will make billionaires that live in Switzerland, in Hong Kong, in UK, like we've done the last 20 years.
Yes. Now, I agree with you on certain things. Let me digress a little bit. I think you mentioned that the New Dawn is only concerned about foreign direct investments. I do not think that is entirely accurate, because I think what the president himself has said, and I've heard him say this, I asked him those questions when he came to Washington, D.C. Last September for the UN General Assembly, and he made it very clear that the New Dawn government is having two-pronged approach to the mining sector, solving not just the mining sector, but every sector of the economy. Two-pronged. The first one is that we need foreign direct investments. We do need it because in the current status of our Zambian economy, a lot of our companies have no capacity to actually go and borrow. They don't even, some of them don't even know that.
True. Masheke, that's not true.
Let me finish my premise of where I'm going. There is capacity issues as to borrowing from international capital markets. There are capacity issues. Number two is that because of that, what we want to do is a prong of two approaches. We want foreign direct investments and also domestic and homegrown participation, and also if there is a possibility of the homegrown initiatives to be funded either locally or internationally, we should do that. And so the president and the New Dawn government is not saying, no, we just need Glencore, Vedanta, Rio Tinto, or these for, no. We want every foreign investor that wants to come to Zambia to invest. But at the same time, we also want to make sure that Zambians themselves can participate in this process. So I wanted to make sure that we don't just say the New Dawn government, the notion that the New Dawn government is only interested in foreign direct investors. That's not true.
No, they are. Unfortunately, no, Masheke, they are paying lip service to any other thinking outside foreign investment. I think that has been my perception, and that's why we keep on talking about the mining sector. I have criticized the head of state, His Excellency President Hakainde Hichilema, that he needs to put up transparent mechanisms in how he is dealing with the issues of the mines. Maybe we are actually speculating out of ignorance because the system he has set up is not informative enough. We have a constitution, he's the head of state.
What's not informative about it? Let's be very clear.
Yeah,
what exactly?
Because we don't know what's happening. In normal circumstances, a president will table such a matter to cabinet. A ministerial committee will be appointed, which then begins to engage stakeholders, including foreign investors. And all of us, analysts, the media, and other stakeholders can follow the process.
But they've been doing that, Ambassador. They've been doing that.
No, they haven't been doing that. So what has been happening? Let me tell you what has been happening. What we know is that our dear brother Greg Mills from Brentes Foundation has been at the center. Valentine Musakanya.
That's speculation. You're speculating, Ambassador. You are speculating.
No, the trouble. That is the trouble. The trouble with lack of information from government, with lack of a transparent process, then information and misinformation take center stage. And that's why we are calling for transparency. Because if these colleagues meet certain stakeholders, people will know about it. And that's how this information keeps on coming up. And credible newspapers in this country, both the Must and News Diggers, these are published newspapers. They're not online sites who you don't know who owns them. have challenged the president what are these people doing in the issues of mining.
Ambassador, let me correct that notion. Right now, what the president has said is that when he went to South Africa for the Indaba, the president has said Zambia is open for business. Now, there has not been any agreement yet on the table that have been placed on the table and say, no, the mills and others or certain specific interest groups have begun discussions and negotiations on anything yet. What the president has said, let me make this point. What the president has said is that Zambia is open for business. We need foreign direct investments immediately to correct the economic decline that we have experienced in the last 10 years of PF rule. We need to correct that because our people need jobs. So the president has made basically an open invitation to anyone who's willing to invest in Zambia. Now, after having said that, what the president then has done is to set conditions and say, okay, this is what I was talking about. This is how we want this to happen. I'm sure after the investors saw what the president did, after the investors saw that the president is committed to the fight against corruption, is committed to the rule of law in Zambia, they've seen that there's been this improved environment on the governance system to an extent that they themselves, now get this point, Ambassador, because this is very important, they themselves, the investors, have been announcing investments, pledges, and plans for Zambia. And so,
Masheke, no, let's make something very clear. We are a democracy. We are a rule-based organized country. You know, we run by the rule of law. There are structures. You have the constitution. You have mechanisms, and you don't run the country on ad hoc basis. There are structures that the law allows this to. And this is for purposes that corruption doesn't fester or the corruption doesn't take center root. This is that decisions are not made by unauthorized persons. We elected President Hakainde Hichilema, and we expect him to stick to the constitution. Yeah, to take charge, yes. But to take charge, he has mechanisms, he has secretariats, he has institutions that he should work within. I cannot be president and just run because I'm president and do things outside the law. We fear that the president may be doing things outside the law. That is why it's our caution. We've said we have not had any ministerial.
Ambassador, those fears are really baseless because they are based on speculation. You are speculating right now. There is no evidence that the president is working outside any legal framework.
Masheke, if the president is in Cape Town at the mining Indaba, and he meets in a bilateral talk with a corporate entity, and he announces that Vedanta and us have agreed that the matter should be removed from court, and that then we will negotiate. That's a very major policy. That's a major policy shift. That is not speculation.
Ambassador, listen, those are called the pre-negotiation discussions.
Okay, who's negotiating?
Listen.
Who is negotiating?
No one is negotiating yet. Those are called pre-negotiation. What you do is you set the tone. The president is setting the tone. He's saying, look, he knows that if we go to court on these matters, because of the bad deal that was done by your government, these will drag on for years. You know this, true?
No. For example,
this will drag on for years, Ambassador, to an extent that people are waiting for jobs on the copper belt. It's not possible.
Masheke, it's very simple. Yeah, just a minute. Masheke, it's very simple. All we are saying is that the president should work in frameworks, in constitutional mechanisms, and in established structures. That's why you have the embarrassment. You have the embarrassment. Just wait. You have the embarrassment where the president announces a chair for an economic advisory unit, which doesn't exist. And you have Professor Oliver Sasa rubbishing such a unit, and he says, I've never been appointed, I've never received a letter, that a unit doesn't exist. It's because we are letting the president run outside established structures. And then this is one embarrassment that has come out only because we know about it. We can doubt every other pronouncement.
Let's get back to the topic. The topic, let's stay on that trajectory though. Because what I want
on the topic, let me get back to the topic. There's something I needed to clear up.
To Oliver Sasa's issue, to the Oliver Sasa's report. Because
I want to make something very clear. President Hakainde Hichilema is very lucky. He found that President Edgar Lungu had done the heavy lifting for him.
No.
Both Mopani and KCM are in government hands.
No. Let me push back. We have agreed on here from the beginning of this discussion is that President Edgar Lungu made calculated mistakes in the mining sector.
No, we have to agree. No.
The current president is actually solving.
No. Mr. Masheke, you're putting your words in my mouth.
Let's go back and see where we're coming from. We said,
okay, let me explain.
You have agreed.
Let me explain. Give me an opportunity. Let me explain. Yes, I've called the deal on Mopani a bad deal. And I explained.
Who's responsible for that?
I explained why it is a bad deal. Yeah.
The back talks with who?
Of course, with the president.
The president.
You know, I said that. Yeah. So I have explained that Mopani is a bad deal and we need to void that contract. And I have justified why it needs to be avoided. But I'm saying the heavy lifting has been done for the president, for the current president, by his predecessor. And this is what has happened. Both KCM and Mopani are in government hands. It's not like we have, for example, some mines in Solwezi where government has no shareholding. You know that we have only shareholding in Kansanshi. And we don't have shareholding in Kalumbila and Lumwana. You know those difficulties. In this case, in this case, the future of this world, Masheke, the future of this world is going to be determined to what happened to Zambia and the DRC, because the entire motor vehicle industry, the electric motor vehicle industry, will rely on our copper, cobalt, and lithium from here. And we are even lucky that we have subsidiaries like manganese. That are to the sector.
Give credit to President Hakainde for setting the stage for that.
In that case,
he was implementing that. He's signed deals. And we are soon going to begin to get FDI and Zambian partnerships in producing EVs in the Zambia DRC deal. The president is doing that. We should thank him.
Masheke, before I give credit to the president for his initiatives on battery making factories, before I get to there, my point remains the same. President Edgar Lungu has done the heavy lifting for him. The two mines, Mopani and Copper, he doesn't have to rush. They are in government hands. For the first time, we can determine awesomely what we can do with these mines. And I'm cautioning that we don't have to rush into making decisions that just benefit foreigners, for example. There's even no need to give these two mines to anyone else. Looking at the future of copper and cobalt in the next 20 years.
Ambassador, that came at a bad deal. We can't give credit to President Lungu for signing and pending and allowing a bad deal of Mopani and say, no, now we have, look at the mess that we are in with KCM. KCM is in a mess because of President Lungu and your party. We are in this situation because of what they did. That is not heavy lifting. That is cold.
Let's come to KCM. Let's come to KCM. I I probably would have made similar decision. Here is KCM. Here is a partner called Vedanta who cheats on taxes, who is not open. And we had to take Vedanta to a London court of arbitration. And the London High Court confirmed that Vedanta were cheating on taxes, $107 million.
Yes, yes.
Before that, they had poisoned our people, they had poisoned Kafue, and there's again a judgment against that. What do you do with such an investor?
No. Okay, I agree. Let's agree.
Yeah.
That what he did, what he did, he grabbed the mine, okay, in whatever way he did it. Let me finish. He grabbed the mines. The actions President Lungu and your government did afterwards is what is the problem. You point Milingo Lungu as a liquidator who in turn gives himself exorbitant salaries and perks and payments and allowances, and KCM turns into a PF cash cow. Let's agree that there was abuse. There was abuse.
What Masheke? Yeah, what Masheke? You've heard the recent announcement where a colleague from, a gentleman from KPMG has been appointed as provisional liquidator. There's a provisional liquidator who then has surrendered the rights to, I think, KPMG, Mr. Kanzilimani. And we hear figures of $6 million a month. That's very expensive. Whether it's Milingo or KPMG, the fact remains the same, that people are milking this cow. It's still a cash cow. So if KCM was a cash cow for the PF, now it's a cash cow for the New Dawn government.
No. The New Dawn is solving the problem. The New Dawn is solving the KCM.
They've got a guy that will be getting $6 million a month.
No. We have to navigate the legal processes in which your president put us in, because we cannot solve the KCM issue we can't just do it illegally by grabbing it by presidential command. You are the one who's saying that.
Let me set the parameters of the debate back to macro issues. My point, Masheke, is that where we are sitting, we are at such a privileged time in the history of our country. We can actually change the direction and course of this country, depending on what we do with the mining sector. In fact, for the mines in Northwestern Province, Dr. Matthias Mpande has insisted that we shouldn't even call them copper mines, and I agree with him. They are gold mines. That's why you have Barrick Gold. They don't deal with copper or any other. They are a gold company. And that's why you have Kansanshi, it's a gold mine. Until we begin to think differently, until we begin to know that these assets can drive the development of this country, we'll be engaged in petty debates that excludes us from benefiting from such a huge resource. Here is an opportunity for Mopani, KCM, and for the mines in Northwestern Province to make them accountable and to make them account. And we need to introduce a secondary value chain, not where they are taking sand and ore and concentrates abroad for export. We'll never benefit anything, because you will not know how much gold is in the ore that they are mining from Kansanshi. You will not know how much gold they are getting from Kalumbila and from Lumwana. Until we do some of these things, even by policy decisions, where we compel that no more exports of concentrates. We want to know what particular mineral we are exporting. This country will benefit from it. And I insist, Masheke, there is no need to rush on KCM and Mopani to rush into bringing foreign investment for them. We already have First Quantum and Barrick Gold as our foreign investors in the mining sector. In my view, let's assemble teams, both financial, technical, mining. I have seen, you are abroad and you've seen how many Zambians are running entities like mines, very well trusted and making fundamental decisions. It can be done in this country, but we have this belief that these foreigners will come and emancipate this country. It won't happen. No investors ever developed any country where they've worked. They'll give you that sorry to call it useless. They'll give you that useless corporate social responsibility. You know that's tokenism. It does nothing even to communities. So for me, we need to address the fundamental issues.
Right. Here is where we are. Again, our viewers, thank you for joining. I have an honor of debating my elder brother here, Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba, who is a political activist and a politician himself. He's an aspiring candidate on the PF party president. He has thrown his name in the hat, and we are here discussing the most pressing issues in our country, and resolving the issues of the mining sector has been a center of our discussion today. As you have heard, me and him have divergent views on these issues and how we can solve them. We agree on so many principles here, if you've heard. We agree that we want what's best for our country. Both of us agree on that. We also agree that there has been some flaws in the previous agreements that were done by previous governments. And the question is, how do we then solve the issues going forward? And I stand, and just to recap my standpoint here, Ambassador Mwamba, I stand on a mix of both foreign investments and local participation. And the nitty-gritties of how we do that, of course, we are going to have disagreements on how we do that. But also, we must recognize that as we do this, we got to do it in the legal framework that is there for our country to use. Okay, we can't just muscle a mine from someone and expect it to become a Zambian mine illegally. Okay, President Lungu grabbed the case here. And then we went into this legal quandrum that we are in. And so you have a liquidator that has now been removed, and through negotiation whatsoever that has been done. Now we have, I don't know if we do have confirmed a new liquidator. We have to solve the KCM issue to a point where either we are going to have, like you say, I'm not against indigenous owning the KCM ourselves. The question becomes, are we able to recapitalize that mine? Because you and I know mining is capital intensive. Every few years, you have to inject in new capital to make sure that you have productivity increasing over time, mineralization, and so on and so forth. So the question is, do we as indigenous on our own able to master the foreign capital that we need to bring into KCM and keep it running? Now, my proposal, let me make a proposal on the table. I'm throwing a proposal on the table. Then you can respond. The proposal is this. Once we finish with all the legal processes, and this is what I think the new Dawn government is headed to, is to have a mix of both. Through Zambia Consolidated Copper Mines Investments Holdings, we can retain a huge stake in KCM and find an equity partner that we can then use to go to the capital markets, international capital markets, and borrow between 1.5 and 2 billion that KCM needs for recapitalization. Your response?
You have a partner in ZCCMIH. You don't need another equity partner. And like I'm saying, we need to put this perception that a stranger will come from Australia or Canada and UK and then help us run the mines. We have seen that every time we've given them such an opportunity, they have cheated on taxes. They have brought, foreign expatriates that have paid huge sums of money. They've now taken advantage of our weak labor laws, where they've casualized the entire mining sector, and we don't even have miners anymore, because what you have is a contractor. Masheke, you'll be given a contractor to bring in 500 miners. How you deal with them is not their issue. They give you one single check. Whether you pay them 100 kwacha or you pay them 2,000 kwacha, it's up to the market. So even the so-called jobs that are being proposed everywhere are not quality jobs anymore, because all these things have been contractualized and they've casualized the process.
Those are labor matters.
To answer your question, in my view, let ZCCMIH, let's give them an opportunity to assemble a team and to run those mines. Those mines, we can get funding for it, for either capital and operation funding. We can. And like I'm saying, no investor will use any of their savings or any of their money. They will use our own assets to go to the bank. And this belief that we can't access market capital is not true. We say there's
a difference, Ambassador Emmanuel. There's a difference between the belief. No one believes that we can't. We can. The problem is capacity. You see, when you go to the capital market, let me explain what we mean by capacity. When you go to the capital markets, the first thing they're going to ask you is, do you have the ability to pay back? That's number one. Number two, the capital market is going to measure the risks involved in loaning you that money. It will include governance issues, which include, we call them X factors in economics. The X factors are, do we have the rule of law and the independence of the judiciary, to an extent that if we take matters, if there is a disagreement between the foreign investor and the partner, who is in this case is ZCCM-IH, do we have competent courts that are independent enough that they can adjudicate our matters of commercial interest in a fair and equitable way? That's number two. Number three, what is the rate of corruption? Number four is, what is the capacity of Zambians to actually work for the mine? That's called skill sets. Do Zambians have skill sets to actually work the mines? Which we do, because the copper belt is riddled with lots of miners who have experience doing this. The issue is the other three. Are we able to pay back? Do we have the fair benefit? So those issues, Ambassador Mwamba, those issues, the foreigner will assess and say, can I give these guys $2.5 billion to recapitalize?
Masheke, if we want to enrich people, then let's give the mines to foreign investment. If we want to build this country, let's run those mines. It's as simple as that. There's no other people that have copper and cobalt. This is a resource that's peculiar to just a few of us in this world. Chile, Russia, Zambia, DRC. A few of us have this resource. Until we begin to deal with it, that is a rare commodity, and begin to administer it as such, we will be always at the bad side of every deal. We'll walk from one bad deal to another.
Simple question here. Simple question. Tell me which country has developed with only indigenous run entities?
Well, so remember, I've been running a matter on my page on Malaysia. Right. Malaysia produces iron ore, and what I decided is they just made one simple rule that there will be no export of iron ore, and they invited manufacturers of steel, which is secondary now, secondary industry, to come in. Between 2020 and 2022, it has grown from a $1 billion industry to a $21 billion industry in 3 years. It can be done. I reiterate,
Ambassador, Malaysia just in 2021 attracted about 6 billion foreign direct investments. That has tripled from 2 billion in 2020. It's tripled.
So one single decision. It's a single decision like that, where you invite foreign investment to add value to your commodities. Because as there, we export them raw.
But that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
No, you and I are saying the same thing.
Yes, we are.
Me, I'm
Yeah,
saying
all I'm
we
saying,
should have foreign direct investment, but also we should have participation by local people, because you got to leverage. You have to leverage your foreign partners to access those markets and get capital into Zambia. That's what Malaysia did, that you are
so
giving as an example.
my criticism, if you have seen, my criticism is the over-reliance on foreign investment as a panacea or ultimate solution to this country.
No,
I
it's
am
not.
saying that is, first of all, we need to resolve that perception. No foreign investor will come and build your country. You can only leverage, benefits from them. So there is this assertion that the mines, for example, can only be run by foreigners. That until we get an equity partner from Australia or Canada or Switzerland, we can't run those mines. It is that what I am speaking against. And I'm also speaking for value addition, and the example I've given you of Malaysia is another example. And for example, Malaysia were doing.
Ambassador, but Malaysia, that's what I'm saying as well. What the new Dawn government has said, in the nutshell, is that we are going to use a mix of both. We are going to use foreign direct investments and also indigenous participation. So there's no digression here between what the new Dawn government is doing and what you are proposing. And I'm not sure if you started proposing these things now. I wish you told that to President Lungu at the time that he was grabbing KCM, at the time that he was getting Mopani copper mines, at the time that he was discovering
those were two good decisions. We have the mines now. Those were two good decisions. We have the mines with us. The intricacies could be flawed. We could criticize the particular methods, but the goodness is the mines are with us. And even for Glencore, look, we even have a strong position just to void those contracts. Many are afraid that, no, we'll create another legal crisis. There's no legal crisis. There is justification in which to void those contracts.
So let's agree on something.
Then we come back to broader issues, like the mining policy. We need to craft a purposefully built mining policy that protects us. Just recently, last month, government has signed a mine agreement with First Quantum, and they've given them concessions. All we are hearing is rumors, and we've been demanding, can government make full disclosure on the recent mine agreement that has been signed
let's give them time.
Between government and First Quantum? Can we know what are they giving them? What tax incentives are they giving them? Do they have a special mineral rights rate? How much are they paying for power? Can I give you a shocker? Let me give you a shocker. In fact, the data we have is that the first quarter of 2022, most mines that are in operation have paid more in taxes than the last 2 quarters of PF in power. And so what I'm telling you is that it's not just the efficiency about what we are paying, how we are framing the mining agreements, if there's any at all that have been signed already. I'm not aware of any right now. But what I can tell you is that even by just using the current frameworks that we have, the new Dawn government has actually collected more taxes, and I can show you the numbers. Look, they made
I will send you the data.
No, Masheke, they made mineral royalty tax deductible, so it's not possible. Just last year, the Zambian government collected, under PF, $600 million. Because MRT was not deductible under the current one, which is even more deductible. I do not. I'd like to see that. I welcome information. I don't want to deal with speculation. If you have information, I welcome. Send it to me. I can make an opinion on it.
I'm sending you the data. As soon as we finish, give me between today and tomorrow, and I'll send you the data. We've put the data.
And then there's something, Masheke, there's something that occurs at Zambia Revenue Authority. And for those that find me in blogs, I've always spoken about it. ZRA, you have to watch them. For example, if they know that the second quarter is coming up and they have to declare and they want to impress government, sometimes they do not collect the VAT or do the refunds, and the books look bloated, like they've collected money. So you might have to actually scrutinize the information. Every time you are going to a quarter where Zambia Revenue Authority is supposed to, make public declaration and to show that they are working, sometimes they manipulate those books. And that's why we have an accumulation of unpaid VAT. It's in billions of dollars. Because of that
problem, Ambassador, and I keep coming to this point. These problems haven't started today. You were in government for 10 years. That's
why you have number 8 here. You have number 8 here. He comes with new thinking. He brings this wealth of experience from the past. Yes, I have now worn a new jacket, and I can then unleash the information I have. Those things I used to criticize from my armpits. I'm now an open guy, and I'm providing this valuable information. But I need to acknowledge that yes, my party made mistakes. Yes, my party, in fact, that's the reason they lost elections, because there was cadreism. There was perception that we're not attending to issues of employment, of young people especially. We're not giving education opportunities. We lost an election, for heaven's sake, and we're punished for those mistakes. So I do acknowledge that the PF made mistakes at various forums, Masheke, and even on this forum. Even if I was far from the PF, I have taken on and apologized. Because as a collective, I think you owe it. Whether you are distant or you are near, as a collective, you have to accept the mistakes and have, rendered apologies. Because when you lose an election, there are some things you did wrong. There are some policies that were not appreciated. And there are things that citizens could have been angry with us, and they punished us as a collective, and we lost power. And so I need to place that on record.
Thank you. Thank you for doing that. Again, it takes a man to do that. And I wish that your colleagues in PF can also do that and acknowledge that they first destroyed the economy. There were huge mistakes that were done, and that they are remorseful, and that they could give the new government, which has a resounding mandate from the people of Zambia, to govern for 5 years. With a potential
Masheke,
of another 5 years.
No.
So let me
differ, before you go to your next question, what we differ is that determination. For example, you say they damaged the economy. Okay, now the cost of living is far higher than it was when PF left power. The cost of living
was already there. The momentum
is far higher. You see what I mean?
Because
we might argue on the particular issues, but okay, we agree. For me, I say, look, the PF lost power, and the people decided on these new managers who are then failing us again and again, because they keep on blaming the ex-girlfriend. Why they are not, they have a wife in the house, which is Zambia. They need to attend to Zambia.
Let's use your analog. If today I marry an ex of somebody, and that person comes in my household pregnant already, the question is, I'm still going to be dealing with those issues even when I've married him. You can't just say, no, because I've married you today, you're pregnant with the
what Masheke. In Bemba we say mpianango apiana namavala, meaning if you take over from a dead man's estate, you assume everything, including the wrong things. If you keep on reminding that woman that this pregnancy belongs to that man that left you, I think she will not stay in the house. So the new Dawn government has an opportunity
to learn from the mistake, because you're going to
make the so the new Dawn government has an opportunity. Every day they blame the PF. Every day they sing this song.
We are reminding them.
Zambians have trusted them. Zambians have trusted them. Look, they looked at the PF. They looked at President Hakainde Hichilema and UPND. They had his views, his promises, his pledges. They believed in what he was saying, that he would reduce food prices and commodities. They heard that he would create employment.
Coming down.
They heard.
No. Let's make something very clear here.
Yeah.
Prices. Let me tell you this. Let me tell you that there's a lot of propaganda out there about prices of commodities and basic.
What is your view?
Let me tell you what my view is. What you have seen is actually a downward trajectory of inflation in the country. And let me tell you why right now you feel like, oh, that the reduction in inflation hasn't hit the homes yet. It's because the inflationary data is lagging. When Central Statistics gives out that data and tells you inflation has come down, and it has been coming down since President Hakainde Hichilema took over. What has happened is that every time a reported inflationary is given out at any given time, there is what we call lagged variable. Inflation is a lagged variable. It follows after the fact. So what you might be reporting today that inflation has gone up or down, but for information that happened 60 days ago. So then within that 60 up to the time of reporting, prices might adjust upwards or down. So people don't really feel that the inflation is actually coming down.
Or in fact, you know, the information from Zambia Statistics Agency has been a joke on many media platforms.
Now you're going to blame all the institutions that you are.
No, I'm not blaming them. I agree with them. I understand what you are saying. But let me just tell you. No, I'm saying they've been a joke, the Zambia Statistics Agency, that they're reporting that inflation rate is going down and it might hit a single digit by November, December. And but people are saying, look, the price of cooking oil keeps on going up, price of sugar, price of salt, price of goods and services. So our data, for you economists, our data, economic growth, inflation rate, and all these things, if they don't make any sense at the table, at a dinner table, in a home, people have difficulties to understand when you say inflation rate is going down.
It's 9 months, Ambassador. It's 9 months of the new government.
And there's no baby. There's no baby. It's 9 months and there's no baby. That's our criticism with the new Don government, is that they're not working in a hurry. Look, we have a huge economic crisis. We have a foreign debt that you and I know, almost $14 billion foreign debt. A local debt in Zambia of over $10 billion, and state-owned enterprises on about $6 billion. We have cost of living skyrocketing. You have a huge economic crisis. And what are the solutions that have been deployed to attend to them? That's what we are not seeing. This president, just a minute, Masheke. This president had pledged that, first of all, he will resolve the issues of foreign debt, that he will restructure it, he will reschedule it.
Let me tell you how he's doing it. Can you give me an explanation? You have challenged me on that. Let me give you how the president is resolving these issues. Number one, the president has said, my economic priority is to fix the economy. Because if you do not fix the economy, Ambassador Mwamba, you are not going to provide employment and thus, by extension, food on the table of many millions of Zambians. So even as you aspire, let me finish it, Ambassador.
Let me cut you there.
Even as you aspire to lead PF, it will be a effort in futility for you to say, I'm going to lead PF so that we can provide food on the table. The question is how? You got to fix the economy. The economy is the only factor that can provide jobs, pensionable jobs, to the people of Zambia. You can't do anything else. This notion that some of you are espousing out, and I've heard some of the questions about, let's employ more teachers, let's employ this. Government can't absorb 5 million of unemployed Zambians that we have right now. It's not possible. What we need to do is to grow the economy. When we grow the economy, we increase the number of well-to-do businesses they are successful. When they are successful, then they can employ more people. That's how you do it.
Oh,
You don't
Masheke,
do it by government employing more people.
you speak very well. I wish we were part of this government. This government is not fixing the economy. It's fixing its opponents. They are fixing their opponents. They are not fixing the economy. They are so preoccupied with fixing opponents. They've abandoned the primary role they should be doing. And let me demonstrate. Let me demonstrate. Number one, your largest creditor is China. That should have been your priority visit. Even before the president came to the US, he should have gone to China. That's your largest single creditor. You know.
Thank the PA for that. Thank the PA for that. The president has said we are going to partner with everyone. We're not going to choose the East, the West, who do we visit the first time? That's not the way the president and the new Dawn government.
So I am saying,
let me make a point clear. The new Dawn government is ready to work with any development partner in the world, Ambassador Mwamba. Unlike your government, was only working with.
If the president,
let me give you an example. Your president, he had this affinity for communist dictators. And he didn't want anybody who told him about democracy, rule of law, and human rights. That's why he sided with all the pseudo-dictators you can name in the world. So this idea that, no, we should have gone to China first is neither here or there. So let me explain one more point. I wanted to come to a point of your candidature on the PF ticket.
Yeah.
So that's very, very important. You aspire to lead PF, Ambassador Mwamba. What exactly is happening? Because it looks like looks like I've lost Ambassador Mwamba here. I hope that he joins me back. This was the last point that we were going to make. I hope he joins me because we need to finish this this discussion. Come back, Dr. Ambassador Mwamba. Come back. We need to finish this properly. So I'm going to allow my older brother here to come back. He can't just go like that. This again, viewers, this is Punch for Punch. We are very, very, very honored to be here. I'm waiting for Ambassador Mwamba. Guys, the ambassador, the ambassadorship, let me explain a little bit why you are here. The ambassadorship, you know, is a portfolio that we keep saying that it's normal. In fact, there was a famous ambassador that retired, Ambassador Stekemwale. He had retired out of service and he served a long time as an ambassador. We kept on calling him ambassador because he deservedly, you know, served the country well. So I'm waiting for Ambassador Mwamba to come back so we can close this program properly, so that he can say his farewells. This is a good engagement, guys. We are excited that you joined us, and I'm excited to engage anyone out there. This is coming to you on TVBAKWETU. This is Punch for Punch. This is a TV show that is going to come to you on Saturday and we are going to bring in and question and engage people that are aspiring to lead us. This is punch for punch. You know me. I'm ready anytime. I'm hoping that the ambassador can come back. He's reconnecting. He's reconnecting. Ambassador Mwamba has said he's reconnecting, and so he's coming back. He's coming back. Share this. Share this. You need to share this because this is the debate of the year. I told you we're going to engage on matters that affect you, the people of Zambia. And he's coming back. I've told him, no, I'm not going anywhere until you come back. He is coming back. He's coming back. Share this. Share this. This is the debate of the year. And we know that we are right. We know that what we are saying is the truth. And the ambassador is coming back. We got data here. We can remove numbers if we want to remove numbers. He's coming back. The ambassador is coming back. He's just text me that he's coming back. Meanwhile, share this. There he is. Let me add ambassador. You went to recharge. You went to recharge, ambassador.
I didn't realize my phone was flat. I'm so sorry.
Your supporters are saying he can't run away like that.
No, I can't. Please connect me. Tell them I'm in.
No, you're on, ambassador. You're on. You're on.
Okay, thank you very much.
Ambassador, I was asking you before your phone died. I was asking you, what has happened to the PF? You can't even afford to hold a convention. What is happening?
Yeah, so the PF lost an election 9 months ago. They had to do a post-mortem report to understand how and why they lost an election. Remember, they had a good candidate in Edgar Lungu, and the PF had done marvelous things for the last 10 years. The infrastructure build we saw in the last 10 years is unprecedented. They had some good programs that were going on. So they needed to understand how they lost an election. And so they did a post-mortem report. And the post-mortem report identified the weaknesses and challenges that made the party lose an election. And there were some proposals of what needed to be done to ensure that then the party can begin to rebuild itself, restructure itself, and the famous word, rebrand itself.
Failed to fund the party. That's the question, Ambassador.
Yeah.
So we can talk about infrastructure, those exorbitant infrastructure development that are the corruptory kickbacks, monies, and so on and so forth. We can go into that's a debate for next time, part 2. For now, will you please answer the question? Why are you failing to fund the convention?
So it's a process. Like I said, it's a process. When you lose an election, the party is somehow in disarray, and the party has to reorganize itself and begin to rebuild itself. They have to do an audit of members across the country. Are those members still there? Or Masheke's people have stolen them? They have to identify an electoral college, and they then have to find, of course, the big issue is also money. Money is part of it, but there are many processes that leads you to a conference. It's just not money alone. You have to visit your branches, your structures, and ensure that they are intact. That those names you have at the secretariat may not be as valid from last year. You need to update the register with the current office holders. If there are vacancies, you fill them in. So the party has been engaged in that process. I personally criticize it. I said we are slow. The secretariat must have been more vibrant. The same way I criticize the UPND government that, look, it's 9 months and we really can't see much. I also criticize that to my party, that we've had 9 months to reorganize ourselves and the pace is a bit slow. But a central committee is being held next week. There was a committee that was earlier picked that is headed by our national chairperson, Davis Chama, and they will report back to Central Committee on the progress they've made on preparations for the party to go to conference. So let's see what then the Central Committee will inform us.
Ambassador Mwamba, it has been a wonderful time to engage you, to have this discussion. And a lot of people, we are looking forward to this, and we have a great viewership as we speak right now. Thousands of Zambians are watching. I want to leave this talk show on this note. You and I know that the New Dawn government has brought some semblance of democracy back to Zambia. I think you and I should agree. The other day, your colleague Hari Karaba acknowledged that I'm able to tour constituencies. I'm able to go everywhere in Zambia without the police chasing me, without the police coming after me. At least for once, will you give credit to President Hakainde Hichilema? Please, at least.
Masheke, I have no problem with doing that. I've always said, for example, the recruitment.
Want to hear it. Zambians want to hear it. Give credit at least.
I have always said, number one, the recruitment of 11,200 health workers is a good thing. The recruitment of 30,000 teachers is a good thing. The increase in CDF fund from 1.6 million to 25.7 million is something we need to commend, because those are local resources going to local communities. The fight against cadarism, although it hasn't ended in markets and bus stops, but there is a political fight to ensure that we end political cadarism. Again, that's a good thing. We commend them, but that shouldn't take away our criticism. That if they are
the governance part
doing very badly, yeah, doing very badly. They're doing very badly. The fight against corruption is muddled in witch hunt, is selective in nature. They've allowed corruption to take root. Masheke, you wanted me to praise them. Now when I'm criticizing them, also give me room. So the fight against corruption, I think we are not learning anything from our history and past. It's selective, it's a witch hunt. There's currently debate about the removal of the two judges, Mr. Banda and Honorable Sanden Konde. Again, there are concerns around there that probably, especially that the Judicial Complaints Commission is now under State House, we can be seeing a hidden hand. So on governance issues, they are not doing very well. And I have a litany of what I can list. But
let me come back to my basis of the question.
Yeah, Masheke, the president, just a minute. The president, we recognize, he has done 9 months, but he has a mandate of 5 years. So he has an opportunity to restart this, avoid the mistakes that the PF made. He has an opportunity to do things differently. And we recognize he has a 5-year mandate.
Can you agree? You and I should agree. This is a very basic thing. You and I know if someone breaks the law in the Republic of Zambia, you yourself wrote an op-ed while you were in Ethiopia, and I read it about the rule of law when then opposition leader Hakainde Hichilema was arrested and put in prison for almost a year. You wrote an op-ed and said, let the justice system and the police system work. So when you defended then the president, Edgar Lungu, that he has no hand in all these things. You did that. I read your op-ed while you were in Ethiopia. And I even challenged you then. I am challenging you now. The president has no hand right now to what is happening.
No, we see a hand.
Let me finish. There is no justice in Konde's issues was handled adequately by the Judicial Complaints Committee. And they finished their process. They made their recommendations to the president, and the president acted. Now, the question to you, Ambassador Mwamba, a very simple question. Do you think that those who broke the law in the previous government, including today who are breaking the law, government officials, should be held accountable. Yes or
They
no?
should. Without a doubt, they should. If anyone,
how is that selective?
Yeah, so if anyone was corrupt, bring them, provide evidence, investigate them properly, and bring them to the courts of law for the courts of law to determine. If anyone did anything wrong, pursue them. I have no problem with that. So our criticism is, is very simple.
We are on the same page.
If it degenerates to a witch hunt, if it degenerates to political decisions, if someone is going to complain about Tulufia Tayari in Lukulu and you take him to Lukulu, you are abusing the law.
Is the Lukulu part of Zambia?
Well, it is. There are established principles. Tayari lives in Lusaka. If he has committed any offense, process the complaint here in the area of jurisdiction where the crime has been committed. You don't need to take Nakachinda to Solwezi. It's those issues we are speaking against. You do not want in one breath.
Ambassador Kangombe, Mubita Nawa, and the Anthony Bwadia were taken to was it in Pika? Where
so what Masheke
and taken to Mpika. I thought that is the process where the complaint is done, the person is taken to that place. Did you, sir, did you condemn the taking of Anthony Bwadia, Mubita Nawa, and Kangombe, Honorable Kangombe, the MP for Masheke? They were bundled in the middle of the night and driven to Mpika. Did you condemn your party for doing that?
Yeah, so it's very simple. The cases for both Anton Bwadia and Mubita were being investigated. I think the NRCs they had were from Mansa, and for Kangombe, remember the President Hakainde Hichilema was coming from Kasama, and the alleged infraction occurred somewhere at Lavushimanda in Mpika, so Chinsali is the headquarters there. Those were justified. But let me say, if a wrong was done, Masheke,
you said they were justified.
If a wrong, yeah, but if a wrong was done, if a wrong was done, let me make it very clear. If a wrong was done under the PF, it doesn't mean that it should be repeated under the New Dawn government. And I think the New Dawn government doesn't get it. A wrong remains a wrong. If the PF abused the law, it doesn't give license to the New Dawn government to abuse the law. If the PF used the law, if the PF used the law for retribution and punishing of political opponents, it's a wrong. That's why we went to an election in August, that the law and police and other law enforcement agencies will not be abused. That's why there was an election. So the repeat of these things.
The New Dawn has said we are not involved in the police processes, the legal processes. Those institutions are independent.
So I have criticized the president there. Look, I don't know whether it is him or not, but you have SEC, Judicial Service Commission, Judicial Complaints Commission, and other law enforcement agencies that have been moved. The Financial Intelligence Center, they've been moved to State House. And then you have a president who at a press conference complains about Bowman Lusambo. He complains about Nakachinda, and the following day, they are all arrested. It's interference.
No.
You don't need to be a rocket scientist
Hold on.
the tremendous pressure. The tremendous pressure the head of state is putting on law enforcement agencies.
Comrade Mwamba, listen, the president has never, President Hakainde Hichilema, and I'm speaking for him, I have not seen him direct the police like your previous president said, and said next time, I'm paraphrasing, next time to come kakafie for a long time. The president, you have never heard President Hakainde Hichilema even insinuate the idea of influencing arrests of anyone, including yourself. You are here, you are expressing yourself.
Listen, you may need to update yourself. You may need to update yourself. The president mentioned.
You are enjoying the freedom today because of President Hakainde Hichilema. You are enjoying.
So let me. I've just given you an example that the president were in court within the period of 3 days. Totela's case, Bowman Lusambwa Nakachinda, that's a political interference. We are calling on the head of state to act with a lot of restraint. He should recognize his head of state, and his words carry a lot of weight. He would put pressure on law enforcement agencies if, for example, he's trying individuals in public spaces. He should allow for the law enforcement agencies to do their job to ensure that they are not prejudiced either before the public or before the law. That is our question, and that is our advice.
Okay, well, you know what, advice well taken, or at least for us here, we acknowledge that you're advising. One of the things that I want to tell you is that the president of the Republic of Zambia, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, has no hand. He is a very principled man. We met him. We reiterated the same things. We don't want to see the same things, the same mistakes that the PF was doing. The president has no hand in what's happening. Now, before you come in, Ambassador Mwamba, let me just tell
we should make something very clear. Let's not use the law for retribution. Let's not use the law for revenge. Let us allow law enforcement agencies to work professionally. Let us allow evidence and alleged crime to drive these processes.
Let's do this. Let me go ahead and tell our viewers, you are watching Punch for Punch, and this is a program where we have some of the most brightest people come on debate issues. You can't ignore the influence that Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba has had on the political scene, in the political space of the Republic of Zambia. He has served as an ambassador in Ethiopia, his recent post. He served as High Commissioner to South Africa, and he's been a public figure for a while now, former spokesperson for the late President Frederick Chiluba, and other prominent roles that he has held in the political party of the PF, MMD, and also now as an aspiring candidate for the PF presidency. And like we said earlier at the beginning of this, we are tackling the issues of the mines. We started from the mines. We've progressed on to talk about socio-economic issues. We are now at the point where we're discussing corruption and governance issues, and politics in general. And so if you just joined us, thank you so much. We have even gone over the time. I want you to know that's how hot this debate is. That's how powerful this debate is. On my viewer right now, I'm showing we have over 1,000 viewers watching on my page and other pages on Dr. Munshad, TVBAKWETU. I want to thank utmost Ambassador Mwamba for taking this on. He's here punch for punch. He's not a coward. He came into the hot seat. We were called the biased TV station. Here we are. We are allowing the opposition leaders to come on and present their case to the Zambian people. And so in closing, Ambassador Mwamba, go ahead and give your closing remarks, and I'll come in later and give a synopsis of our discussion.
Thank you very much, Masheke, and thank you to TVBAKWETU for the great opportunities. Thank you to your audience, and I would like to thank them sincerely. My closing remarks are very simple. We started with the issues of mining. I think it's cardinal for this country to ensure that the decisions we make benefit not ourselves, but benefit our people and our people's children, and the future of this country. It can be secured properly by the decisions we make. The president and the New Dawn government is advised to, I think, arrest the issues of the economy and forget arresting political opponents. I think let's focus on what is burning. And it's the economy that is burning. It's the economy that is in crisis. It's the economy that I think we will show where this government is. They will have our utmost support. Our criticism, I personally always speak like that. Our criticism is not laced with malice, it's not personal, I have no time for name calling. My opportunity is to provide, proper policy criticism that builds this country. And for issues of governance and the lapses that we are seeing, again, I would like to urge the new government to ensure that, let them not repeat the mistakes of the PF, because then they'll be shown the door like the PF was shown the door. So, colleagues, thank you very much for the opportunity, and God bless you.
All right. Ambassador Mwamba, thank you so much for coming. My last words. The New Dawn government has embarked on an ambitious mending, reformation of our economy. Our economy was inherited in a bad shape. We have high levels of debt that has to be dismantled. My case to the Zambian people and the people that are watching is that give President Hakainde Hichilema a chance to lead this country and dismantle the huge amounts of debt that has been accumulated, but also to repair and reform the economy to an extent that it can provide jobs in the private sector, good jobs, not just jobs, but jobs, pensionable jobs that many Zambians are crying for. The New Dawn government has increased a lot of things that we have been talking about here. Ambassador Mwamba acknowledged the increase in the CDF. He acknowledged a few other economic activities that the New Dawn government has undertaken. I want to take this time to appeal to our viewers. Please join us next time, because you know what? Ambassador Mwamba can actually come back. This is a man that is willing to face the lion in their own den. We are here to provide you nothing but the truth. But when you come on this show, be ready, because it's punch for punch. And we don't take anyone, we don't take prisoners here. We destroy every propaganda and lies that are out there, but we also take on the truth like we have done today. Thank you so much for watching. Ambassador Mwamba, thank you so much.
God bless you. Thank you very much.